Welcome to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from the Center for New Media at Middlesex Community College in Middletown. I'm Steve Minkler, the college's academic dean and lead campus administrator, and your host for Middlesex Moments. This is a show that's produced by faculty, staff, and a team of video production students. The purpose of Middlesex Moments is to give you a small glimpse into the programs, services, and events offered by Middlesex Community College. You'll meet faculty, staff, and students, and you'll learn about the ways in which the college is an important partner in the communities we serve. Today's edition of Middlesex Moments is being live streamed on Facebook. So if you're catching us on Friday, May 4th, 2018, you're watching this show as it happens, live here in the studio, no cuts, no edits, no retakes. It's pretty exciting, but it's kind of like walking a tightrope without a net. In our first story, Middlesex Community College hosted its 4th annual Academic Convivium on April 27th. The Convivium is a day when we celebrate student scholarship and creative work. It's sort of like a mini conference of presentations, performances, and poster sessions. This year, 36 students gave polished, research-based professional presentations on topics such as the history of the automobile industry, psychological disorders, and so forth. Middlesex Moments reporter Joe Puglisi spoke with some of the students and their faculty mentors about their participation in the Academic Convivium.
Every year, Middlesex Community College holds our Academic Convivium, where the brightest minds at the college show off the fruits of their hard-earned research. We spoke with students Jonathan Ramash and Steph Smallshaw, who discussed what it's like to participate in the Convivium.
Participating in the event was very nerve-wracking because I don't do that many public speaking events, so it was a rare thing for me. But going up there and actually doing it was an amazing experience because I didn't feel as nervous as I thought I did.
So being able to participate in this event was nerve-wracking for me because I'm not really good at public speaking and stuff, but it was also interesting to share this condition that not many people know about, and it was interesting to see people's reactions.
We also had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Andrea Levy, the chair of the Academic Convivium Committee, who helped kick the event into gear.
So we really kind of prepare the full year in advance of the program by encouraging faculty members to work with their students to plan a project that would be something they could present at the Convivium. It's working with my own students to help them prepare projects that they can present here, soliciting applications for the program, working one-on-one with students to help them tighten up their presentation and practice their presentation.
Despite the challenges students face, Dr. Levy believes that this experience is all worthwhile.
So for the presenters, we see it as a really nice opportunity to develop public speaking skills, to have the experience of presenting their work in a kind of professional, scholarly, academic environment.
We hope next year's Convivium will be just as successful, if not more. I'm Joe Puglisi for Middlesex Moments. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Joe. And joining me now is a member of the Academic Convivium planning team, Dr. Joe Murfin, a music and math professor at the college. And Joe, thanks for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here.
And what was your impression of seeing all these student presentations at our Academic Convivium?
It was fantastic. We had a lot of great presentations. I think the students got a really nice opportunity, and they had a nice crowd there as well.
Okay. Well, great. And we have to take time for a quick break, but when we come back, more with Dr. Joe Murfin and his role as a music and math professor at the college. Middlesex Moments will be right back. Stay tuned.
into your future at Middlesex Community College.
My name is Tahira Barker. I'm prior service Navy, currently Air Force Reserves.
My name is Vincent Murata III. I was prior Navy in the United States military.
I hope to graduate from here with my associates in biotechnology.
There's a lot of support for veterans specifically.
The veterans were quick to introduce themselves to me, tell me that anything that I needed on campus or off campus, that they were there to help.
To be able to transition from military life to being your own person.
Step into your future at Middlesex Community College.
And welcome back to Middlesex Moments. This is Steve Minkler coming to you from the Center for New Media at Middlesex Community College. And my guest today is Dr. Joe Murfin, who teaches both mathematics and music here at Middlesex Community College. And Joe, how did you get interested in both math and music? They seem like two very different things.
Yeah, I think I had an interest even from a very young age in both fields, and when I ended up going to college I kind of couldn't decide which one I wanted to stick with, so I just did both. And I was a double major for a while in music education and mathematics. I had to drop the math for a couple of years because my music was getting a little too busy, but I did end up going back and finishing it in a 5th year of my undergraduate. Then I continued on to do a master's degree in applied mathematics, and then from there I went back and did a master's degree in percussion performance, and then eventually a doctoral degree in percussion performance. And it was actually really nice because with my math background during my music school, during the doctoral degree and the math degree or the master's degree, I was actually able to teach in the math department at the University of Wisconsin, and that actually paid for all of my schooling. So it was a really nice. It ended up working out very well. Yeah.
Very nice. And where did you go to school for your degrees?
I went to Truro University for undergraduate, and then I was at Auburn University for the math master's degree, and I was at the University of Wisconsin for the upper level music degrees.
Okay. Now earlier in the show we saw a news story about the college's academic convivium, which was a time for students to share presentations and some of the creative work that they would have done here at Middlesex. I'd have to imagine if you're in a program in music, you have to do something kind of similar to a presentation that just shows that you've learned everything you needed to do to be a good percussionist. And what was that like for you in your academic program? Yeah,
that's right. At the end of the program, depending on what level you're at, you usually have to do some kind of capstone performance or take, in addition to taking a lot of exams typically as well. So for undergraduate degree, there's usually a major recital during your senior year, and the same thing happens for the master's degree. It's a little more condensed because it's a shorter degree, but there's usually a big recital right at the end, which is part of your qualifying to graduate. And in addition to that, you usually have to take a lot of tests as well. And then for the doctoral degree, it's kind of like the same idea, but on steroids, because you have to do, or at least for my degree, I had to do 5 recitals, one of which was an actual academic presentation where I had to, they call it a lecture recital, so I had to play, and then in between all of the pieces, I had to actually give an academic presentation about what I was doing. And then I had to do that in addition to taking a couple of pretty major exams to get my degree in the end. So it is quite a bit of work, and by the end of it, you end up getting quite a bit of practice doing those presentations.
I'm sure. Well, and were you performing with groups outside of the university at the time too?
Yes, I was actually doing a lot of work at the university, playing in ensembles like orchestra and percussion ensemble, and then doing my individual recital preparation as well. But I was also doing a bit of gigging, kind of playing with just random groups kind of on the side. And then I also had a professional percussion ensemble called Clocks in Motion, and we were doing quite a bit of playing, doing a lot of touring around the Midwest. So yeah, I stayed pretty busy. In addition to that, I was teaching as well, so I had quite a bit going on.
Okay. And I think our viewers at home can see some film clips of you playing in some various ensembles, and maybe walk us through this a little bit if you can.
Yeah, this is actually the group I was referring to earlier, Clocks in Motion. This was a recording we did of Charles Warnen's percussion quartet. And you can see there's quite a bit going on. Each of the performers has a lot of instruments that we're navigating, kind of jumping back and forth between different drums and different types of keyboard instruments. And the music is quite complex. And and also learning how to play together as a group and stay together, because you know there's no conductor, so there's a lot of rehearsal that goes into making this a really good performance. And this is a recording that we ended up doing of the piece later on.
Okay, and it's great to think, I mean, when I think of percussion, I think mostly just of drums, but it really is any instrument that you are hitting, I would think, and keeping rhythm, right?
Yeah, that's right. One of the challenges of percussion is that you have to be proficient in quite a few instruments. So you don't spend all of your practice time just learning marimba or just learning snare drum. You have to be very good about splitting your time equally among a lot of different instruments to make sure that you're getting proficient in a lot of areas.
Right. And I learned a little bit of that too, just being an amateur pianist. If you play in a jazz band, then the piano itself is more of a percussion instrument rather than a lead instrument in many ways.
Right, yeah, and you end up with that in percussion a lot of times. And if you're playing in an orchestra, sometimes you get random instruments that you would have never imagined playing, and they just kind of get stuck in the percussion section because they don't really know what else to do with them. So
Exactly. Now, are any of the pieces that you're playing here, were they written by you, or somebody that was as part of your doctoral work?
None of the pieces in this particular footage are written by me, though I did do at least one piece for my master's recital that I wrote myself and performed. So most of the works I would have performed would have been written by somebody else, but I certainly do a little bit of composing as well.
Okay. And since moving to Connecticut, have you maintained some of your performance schedule since coming to this part of the country?
Yeah, I have. I'm not playing quite as much as I was in graduate school, having the full-time job teaching now, but I'm doing quite a bit of playing. I play with the Yale Steel Band, and also have been doing quite a bit of Brazilian gigging, so I play a lot of Brazilian music with various ensembles in the area.
Okay. Well, and like you talked about with your the master's and doctoral degree in music, that you had to do sort of an instructed concert. We'll see a little bit of that later. I think in our next segment you'll show me a little bit about how to do some basic rhythmic drumming with you. But let's talk a little bit about your role here at Middlesex Community College. And you teach math and music. And how do you find that balance here in terms of what you like to do, but also what the students need of the college?
It's really interesting because I feel like when I'm doing math and music, it's kind of working different sides of my brain a lot of times. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of balance, so it's not all on the analytical side and all on the artistic side. It's nice to be able to switch it back and forth. And also I get to see a lot of my students multiple times because they'll come through one of my math classes and then they get to see me in a different setting over in the music class as well.
Right. Yeah, and right now Middlesex doesn't have a large music program, or we don't really have a degree yet in music, but we do have some offerings for students. And what kind of things have students asked of the college? What kind of music classes have students typically wanted to do, and do you have some plans to help expand the music program at the college?
Yeah, I've had a few inquiries from students for trying to get some more instruments on campus and maybe trying to have like some kind of rock band ensembles or some other, at one point we were trying to get kind of a drumming and percussion ensemble going on. Logistically it's a little difficult because we need a little more space to do that, and we need to work out some of the logistics of having the instruments. But there definitely is some student interest on campus, so hopefully in the future we can start moving in that direction and have some more ensembles on campus.
Sure, and I think that would be a great bridge between students who like to perform but also students who like to produce music from the technical side. So the studio that we're in now actually doubles as a recording studio for students who are interested in digital music production. So I think that's a nice marriage right there.
Yeah, absolutely. We have such a nice facility. It'd be great to have some ensembles that we could actually work with. From the music production side, it'd be great that they could practice doing live music recording, and both parties would benefit because they would have really high quality performing from the performer's standpoint, and then the people that are learning that art of recording would have a nice product as well.
Sure. You were telling me before recording the show today that you participated in a panel and you were asked to talk specifically about what it's like to teach at a community college versus maybe a four-year university. And since you've had some experience in both, what are some of the differences that you've found since coming to Middlesex Community College?
Yeah, I think teaching at the community college is kind of nice, especially for my particular interests, because we definitely have more of a focus on teaching. There's not the research aspect of the job, which you sometimes find in the university setting, where maybe half of your load is doing research and half of your load is teaching classes. I prefer to do a lot more teaching, so that's definitely where the emphasis is here. And there's also a lot of emphasis on student success and a lot of interaction between students and professors. I get to know my students really well, get to see them quite a bit. And it's nice also that we're a smaller campus, so I run into students just in the hallway or just in the cafeteria, and I really get to build those relationships with them.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing as your dean is I'm hearing you've got quite a following of students who enjoy taking your classes, whether it's math or music.
Yeah, I think so. I end up getting a lot of students who ask, oh, are you teaching the next math class in the sequence? I'd maybe like to take it with you. Or a lot of students who are interested in maybe taking my world music class or my music history and appreciation class after taking one of my math classes with me.
Yeah, and I think that's particularly true in math because, many students find math to be a difficult topic, and if they find a professor that they like who seems to explain it well to them, they want to stick with that person.
Right, or just having a different teaching style because people teach different ways and people learn in different ways, so sometimes you might find a professor who really teaches to your specific learning style, and if you kind of know how they operate and you know how they teach the class, you can kind of follow them through a sequence, maybe through the calculus sequence, or maybe through from like the college algebra to pre-calculus, and then you feel a little more comfortable going into the next class with them because you already know the teacher pretty well, you feel comfortable asking them for advice, and you know how they teach.
Right. So if you had maybe 15 seconds to describe your own teaching style, what would you say about yourself?
I really try to teach, specifically math, I always try to teach it from a very intuitive perspective. I don't like to just teach memorized math, hey, just do this and follow these steps. I think that's pretty boring and I think that turns students off. So I really like to go into the why of how mathematics works, and I think students find that a lot more interesting as well, and they're more likely to really internalize the processes that way.
Okay. Well, we'll get to see a little bit of that in a moment because after a short break, Dr. Joe Murfin is going to demonstrate some percussion techniques and give me a quick drumming lesson. Middlesex Moments. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Step into your future with Middlesex Community College.
At Middlesex Community College, we think your Plan A should be a high-impact, low-cost college education, preferably with no student loans required. Get started on your Plan A.
Welcome back to Middlesex Moments from Middlesex Community College. Steve Minkler here with Dr. Joe Murfin, and in this segment we'll be learning more about the pandero and other percussive music techniques. And maybe to get us started, Joe, we've got some video clips of you playing with the pandero with other percussionists. So maybe kind of talk us through what we're going to be seeing on the screen here and what we're going to be listening to.
Sure. This is a group of percussionists that I've known for quite a long time. We all played together in graduate school. In that group, Clocks Motion, I mentioned, we were all members of that at one point. This was, I think the clip we're going to watch was recorded a bit after that, but this is a piece written by my friend Dave Alcorn, who's actually one of the guys that you'll see performing. He's on the far left. This is a piece called Miniatures for Tambourines. So it actually has a bunch of various kinds of tambourines from different parts of the world. You can see there's a lot of different techniques that are going on, and it's a nice little quartet where we put all these techniques together.
Sure. And it's more than just sort of slapping the tambourine with your with your palm, you're actually moving individual fingers and shaking things and...
Right, that's right, and you can see like the tambourine on the far left, that's more of an Egyptian style tambourine, so there's kind of held upright. The tambourines that you see on the far right, those are more of what you would see in like an orchestral style tambourines, and so there's a lot of finger rolls and different kind of shake techniques and ways that you can strike them to get a lot of interesting sounds. Right there you can see that we're like rubbing the heads and scratching the heads, so it's a lot of people think the tambourine's a really simple instrument, but there's actually quite a bit that you can do with it.
Sure. So you're going to show me a little bit here live in the studio how the pandero and the tambourine work together, and some of these techniques that that can be used to build by having several people playing different drums at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we can start a little bit just kind of looking at the pandero, the instrument that you see me playing on this particular instrument. You can see there that I have kind of some finger roll techniques and some other techniques, and we'll kind of demonstrate that now.
Okay.
There's a lot of different sounds, like I said, even though it's a simple instrument, you can get some bass sounds, and then there's some slap sounds you can get by going to the middle. I can also bend the pitch with my thumb. I can push in like this. It actually bends the head, which is a goat skin head. So I can get a lot of different tones. And then also kind of the standard technique is to move the hand back and forth and also move the instrument back and forth like that. So when you put all that together, you can get some nice rhythms. And what's interesting about this drum is you can also do lots of little finger techniques as well. So I can do things like, I can also do it with like the heel of my hand. And you kind of put all of that together, you can get something like. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff with kind of a simple drum. This is a Brazilian drum, and a lot of times the Brazilians call this like a drum set in the bag, because you can just kind of carry it around, and you can do a lot of things that you would think that you could only do with maybe like a set of drums.
Sure, and relatively inexpensive too. Just to have one instrument sit on the set.
Yeah, exactly. For a couple $100s, you can have a really nice one of these. Whereas something like a flute, you might have to spend several $1,000s.
Sure.
So it's kind of a nice instrument. Yeah, and you can. I particularly like the fact that it's really small, so I can just throw it in a backpack and go do a gig.
Gotcha. You brought some other instruments with you too.
Yeah, I did, and actually I was going to maybe show you a little demonstration of the pandeiro, but I can introduce this other instrument as well. This is another Brazilian instrument called a rebolo, which is like a bass drum instrument, and it's played on the side like this, and this would be kind of like the foundational rhythmic instrument in a lot of like samba music. So this is there's another instrument that's really small that I also like to take around and just gig with as well. So I think we were going to maybe do a little demonstration where I could teach you a few things on one of these drums.
Absolutely.
So I brought an extra pandeiro with me. So this one's very similar. Okay. And so you can hold it right here where there's one spot where there's no jingles. And I'll just show you a couple of sounds. I think the one sound we looked at was the thumb sound. So you can kind of think about rotating your thumb like this. Yep, that's good. Yeah, and you're trying to get that bass sound on the drum. Yeah, and there's a little bit of trick to it in terms of like getting the right bounce and everything. Sure. And then another sound that's pretty easy to do is just the slap sound. You're just kind of dropping your hand in the middle. Yep, and you're just kind of looking for that little high pitched sound like that. Kind of like a Spider-Man hand almost. So we can do like a little rhythm here that would be like a really common Brazilian rhythm. Okay. So we'll just break it up. So I'll do it once for you, and then we'll kind of go from there. So a common rhythm would be like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So like a boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, slap. Okay. You want to try one more time?
Sure.
Say boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, slap. And actually, I think maybe we won't do the last slap. We'll just go boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, boom. There you go. Gotcha. And so what we want to do is just repeat that pattern. So that would be like a nice underlying rhythmic pattern. So we got boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, boom. Nice. So maybe we can actually show how these drums work together.
Sure.
If we can keep that rhythm going. So, so again, on the pandero, I'll get you started and then we'll add in. So we got boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, slap.
Yeah, so you get a little out of sync.
Yeah, so you can see like some of these rhythms, they seem really simple, but once you start to kind of put them together, they get
let's
a
try that
little
one
tricky.
more time.
All right, so we got boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap, boom, 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 slap, boom, boom, slap. Yeah, not so bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's tricky because this one's playing like more of a straight 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4 kind of rhythm, and this is a little more syncopated rhythm. That would be a very basic samba rhythm. So that would be, of course, it gets more complicated than that, but that would be something you would hear maybe under some traditional samba music.
Okay, sounds great. So what are a couple other common rhythms that you might hear in some of the music that you play?
Well, another thing I like to do with this instrument, I mentioned it's a Brazilian instrument, but I like to play it in a lot of American styles. So I like to really try to play this more like a drum set. So like I could play like rock rhythms with it. Or maybe more of kind of like a hip hop. Or yeah.
So if we were to take a class with you in percussion ensemble, this is the kind of stuff that we would learn in that class, perhaps?
Yeah, we would probably do, probably have some, if we had like a drumming class, I would probably, focus a little bit on Brazilian music for some time, especially since the instruments are relatively accessible. I mean, there's obviously some technique to learn, but you can pick one up pretty quickly and start to get some sounds going on them.
And it's really easy to teach young children. I mean, maybe some of these rhythms are a little more complex, but it's really easy to teach young children the basics of music with simple drum instruments.
Right, exactly. If you have something like a big marimba or a xylophone or something, that can be a little intimidating. Or if you think about wind instruments, if you start on saxophone, you're not going to sound very good the first day. You might not even get a sound out of the instrument. Nice thing about drums is even if you're not sure about the techniques, you can at least get a sound pretty much on the first day. Maybe not the best sound, but you can at least make a noise.
Right.
I have an infant daughter, and she loves to take like maracas and shake them, and so it's great that you can even get these nice little sounds, and then you can just work on them from there.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and even for us oldsters, we've actually played on campus just for fun with Steve K. and the Square Roots, right? One of your math colleagues who plays the banjo and sings and writes new lyrics to old songs to just kind of have some fun with mathematics and music, too.
Yeah, exactly. I think we did like a Riders on the Storm a couple years ago, right? And we brought the pandeiro in to kind of serve as the drum beat as well. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I really want to thank you, Joe, for joining me on today's Middlesex Moments, and thanks for the work that you did on the Convivium and for being a math and music teacher at the college.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
All right. And many thanks to you for joining us at home for another edition of Middlesex Moments. And as always, you're welcome to visit us in person at our main campus located at 100 Training Hill Road in Middletown, at our Meriden Center located at Platt High School, 220 Coe Avenue, where we offer afternoon and evening classes 4 days a week. And of course, you can visit us online 24/7 at mxcc.edu. So for Joe Murfin, everybody at Middlesex Community College, I'm Steve Minkler, and we hope to see you again soon.